Good evening, everyone. I will call the Marion Township Board of Supervisors meeting for Thursday, April 29th, 2021 to order. The time is now 7:02 p.m. We are doing these meetings through Zoom because of COVID-19 and Governor Wolf's emergency declaration stay-at-home orders. We normally do the Pledge of Allegiance as one of the first items on our roster. However, due to the nature of the telepresence meetings, we are going to omit that for the time being. The next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the March 25th, 2021 Board of Supervisors meeting. I'll make a motion.
Second.
Roll call. Peter?
Aye.
Irene?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Okay. The minutes of the April 24th, 2021 workshop meeting are not completed. Some of that is due to the fact that I was not able to get the file uploaded to YouTube due to some personal conflicts that happened. So as soon as that's up, Sue will work diligently on getting those done, and we can review them for consideration at the next meeting. Next item on the agenda is to approve the payment of the bills for April 2021. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call. Peter?
Aye.
Irene?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Okay. At this time, I'll open up the floor for public comments. Sue, did we receive any written or phoned in comments throughout the course of the week or the month, I should say?
No emails, no phone calls.
Excellent. Is there anybody who is on the Zoom session who would like to make a public comment? Okay, seeing none, I will move into the first main items for the agenda. The emergency declaration that I had previously mentioned was enacted on the March Board of Supervisors meeting with a provision to extend to a time lasting until further action by the board. We are continuing to do these for the concern around COVID, and by the nature of if we were to have meetings in person, we could only have, I believe it was 6 people in attendance in the audience due to the nature of the social distancing requirements. So until that situation generally starts to improve or clear, it is the decision of the board. I would say, Irene, Jim, stop me if I'm overstepping here, but it is the decision of the board that we will continue doing these until a time where the threat to public safety is cleared.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay. Next up on the agenda is the culvert at Marion Drive near where Jacob Weiss lives. We are waiting to hear back from the dirt, gravel, and low volume road program to see if the grant submission that we made has been approved. I haven't heard anything from Jim McCarthy. He is not on the call this evening, but I'd imagine as soon as he hears something, he'd let us know. On the same vein of road work, the culvert at Sheridan Road near Gerald Hoover's farm, the hole is getting bigger. McCarthy Engineering gave us a price of approximately $90,000 to replace the existing pipe with a box culvert measuring 12 foot by 4 foot. This component alone is about $36,000 just in material, and it would require end walls totaling another $12,000. We are looking to do this using our road crew to keep the labor costs down because that $90,000 figure would be significantly higher if we were to have to put this out to bid. We're just waiting to hear from McCarthy Engineering about what our next step is in terms of permits or anything else that we need to do to get the process started. But I'd very much like to have our road crew tackle this in either June or July of this year. Also regarding roads, the road project 2021, the original packet that we had put forth, just not even the whole one, just the phase 1 of 2, came back with a construction cost estimate of about $620,000 to do a double oil and chip and overlay along with some crack sealing. We obviously need to thin that down a little bit because just by the nature of construction costs being very, very high right now, that would blow out the entirety of the road fund. So my personal suggestions, and I have it in the agenda, is we do Church Road from School Road to 422. We do Idris Road from Sheridan Road to the end of it. We do Smaltz Road from 422 to School Road, and we do Smaltz Road from School Road to the township line. Which would effectively be omitting the William Penn Boulevard from Canal Road to the Borough line, Sheridan Road from Route 422 to William Penn, Palatine Place from Richland Road to the end, and Stouchburg Road from Tulpehocken Road to Route 422. Based on just kind of the nature of being familiar with some of those roads that I've suggested that we omit for this particular packet, a lot of them are less traveled than some of the other ones, like Church and Smaltz. Sheridan gets okay traffic, but Sheridan, I think, needs some other TLC as well. It could be better served by waiting a little bit and trying to do that in a slightly more comprehensive nature. So all of those roads that I had outlined as still being in the packet would total about $322,445. Jim, Irene, what are your thoughts?
There's roughly $619,000 in the account, so I'd be all for saving. I guess just rewinding a little bit, those culverts, those costs would come out of that fund as well, correct?
They could, yes. So
Yeah.
they would either come out of the road maintenance, or they could actually be split between the two, depending on how we did the accounting of it.
Yeah.
But, we do have some money budgeted for road work and repair. And we also have the items that are in the liquid fuel fund. So we'd want to, and the reason I kind of shot for that 300 to 350,000 mark is we already have another $90,000 worth of road work planned. And if we go to attack one of the other culverts, which I have down in my comments section that I'll touch on in just a second, we'd be potentially looking at another $90 to like $150,000 project there.
Yeah, just have to be careful.
Yeah, we don't want to overrun that fund, which is why I suggested we drop some of those for some of the more critical ones. Like I'm going to fast forward here for just a second. The other culvert on Marion Drive, where half the road is closed, that would be a very good one to do, especially if we can do that with our road crew to kind of keep the costs down a little bit, simply because that has been down to one lane for quite a bit, probably close to 2 years that has reduced traffic on there. So that's one that is very high priority in terms of the road surface not giving way entirely.
I agree with you. I think you're correct in what we can and can't do this year.
Okay. I'll send out a redrawn map to show everyone where the spots are on a road map so you can see. And then the next thing would be, I'll just, assuming we have everybody's buy-in on this, we'll make a motion to kind of solidify that. I'll redo the bid packet that Charlie Paris had given us. I'll just doctor that up so that it omits some of the roads and recalculate some of the things. And then if we're good with that, I'll send it over to McCarthy to have him put it out on pen bid.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll make a motion for the 2021 roadwork packet to include Church Road from School Road to Route 422, Idris Road from Sheridan Road to the end, Smaltz Road from Route 422 to School Road, Smaltz Road from School Road to the Township line for double oil and chip overlay and any crack sealing that is required.
Second.
Roll call, Peter.
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Next up is the Catterman Hill Road and Stouchburg Road intersection. We had received a complaint last month about difficulty seeing oncoming traffic when stopped at the stop sign going south on Catterman Hill Road. We had received an email from Attorney Bernecker about Section 6112A and Section 6102 of Pennsylvania Vehicle Code. We have an email from McCarthy Engineering about possible violation under Section 516.2 and 516.3 of our zoning ordinances. Bear with me for just a second. Close the window. Andy, the question that I had for you, and this, I saw your email. Thank you for that, by the way. About the signage, you said we could put it up, but it's not enforceable. Is there anything that we can really actually enforce from like a dangerous intersection sign standpoint?
You're exactly right. And after I wrote it, that's what I thought. So no, it's not something that would be in any way, you know, a punishable offense, because how would you violate it? But
yeah,
from what Courtney's research revealed, this is one of those signs that needs to be ordained. whether it's enforceable or not. We'd have to, pass an ordinance to put it up. But like my email said, I wouldn't let that stop us from putting up the sign. I would put it up now.
Okay. So I'll get the road crew to install those signs, and we'll go from there. I would say that the best thing we should do this evening, Irene, Jim, is to make a motion, and I'll actually make the motion now to authorize Andy to prepare an ordinance for the placement of those signs at Catterman Hill and Stoutsburg Road.
Second.
Roll call, Peter,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Butch had received the signs and he was just waiting for you to tell him what to do.
Okay, I'll give him a call tomorrow. Did he hang the sign on the playground yet?
I told him to. I said,
Yeah.
yeah, they removed the post that was previously there. I said, just put it back where it was. So,
Okay,
yeah.
good, very good. Okay, next up is the Aikens accounting audit. Irene, I'll turn it over to you for any updates that you may have around that.
No updates. We're just waiting for their final review.
Okay, very good. Next item on the agenda is the website. We had a training session through Zoom, and I made some updates to the domain name. We're waiting, Civic to make some changes to a thing called a C name and an A name record. After that, we would be able to cut over to the new website. The tentative game plan for that is the 7th of May would be the first day of the new website being operational.
Wow.
So I'll keep close tabs with Civic on that as we move through it, but we'll have to make a quick update there, a quick update on the old county website to make sure everything's pointing to the right places. And we should be online within the next about a week. Okay. Next on the agenda is the noise ordinance proposal. Irene, I'll let you cover that since that was one of the things that you had brought forward.
Sure. Nothing further on that. Attorney Bernecker was kind enough to point out that we could include differences in decibel volumes in the different areas of our township, and she added that in, and I think everyone had opportunity to review it. I'm very pleased with that, and as long as everyone is happy with that, I suggest that we go forward and approve it.
Okay. So Andy, the one question that I had, and I apologize if I skipped it because I read it a second time and I didn't see it. On the table that was added, the maximum permissible 1 hour table, the number of the slots are blank. If it's blank, does that mean it doesn't have a limit or that it is the default limit of what's stated in the ordinance?
No, I think we need to fill in those levels. And that's, I guess Courtney was under the impression that those numbers would be discussed. I don't know if they had been at the workshop, but yeah, we'd have to fill those in. There's for like ag preservation zoning district, CR conservation, residential, LDR, and town center. None of those are indicated in that table. They can, I mean, it can all be the same, but maybe you want to have those levels be higher in ag preservation, for example, than you do in town center, you know, in residential areas. But
yeah, and the curiosity about that, and Irene chime in too, is like for ag preserve, there's a number of things that are already excluded from any noise level, like agriculture, chickens, cows, etc., using farm equipment, really for everybody, permitted construction. So I'm not opposed to either keeping it the same across the table for a number of those things, or maybe making a slightly higher level for like ag than we'd have for potentially like town center. But this would be where I would want everybody else's input on this.
60 decibels is a conversation, 70 decibels is a vacuum cleaner. So anything louder than that, when you're going above 75 and when you're going closer to 80, you're talking about things that can cause hearing loss at a prolonged duration. So I wouldn't push it past 70 when it comes to ag, but I think town center 60 or 55. But you know, we played around with some of the phone apps. You know, you could have spikes in conversation, but for a sustained conversation, 60 decibel levels is what's considered, I think, average. So if I'm sitting in my house, I shouldn't be able to hear so much noise outside my household. If I do, I know that's a fairly loud noise. So, and it goes along with just some of the other parts of that ordinance. So, I mean, I would use 60 decibels as long as everyone else is comfortable with that. I'd probably do 70 for the ag area.
Okay, that's actually kind of in line with what I was thinking. For 70 for the ag preserve, like 65 for the 10, or like, yeah, it would be 65 for the 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Mhm.
And then conservation residential would be the 60 and 55, just like it is for medium density residential. Low density residential would be the same, 60 and 55, and then town center would be 60 and 55.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so Andy, procedurally speaking, if we authorize those changes in a very specific manner, can we get you to get that prepared so that it can be put out for advertising?
Oh, yeah. All you need to do is just authorize me to advertise, and we can get this done for the next meeting if the board wishes.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to make the following changes to the noise ordinance as currently written. Agricultural preservation, having a decibel limit of 70 decibels from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., a limit of 65 decibels from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Conservation residential having a limit of 60 decibels from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., a limit of 55 decibels from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Low density residential having a limit of 60 decibels from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. and a limit of 55 decibels from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Town center having a limit of 60 decibels from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. and 55 decibels from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Second.
Roll call, Peter.
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Okay, I don't know if I specifically mentioned in there about having it put out for advertisement. So
You
just
did
for
not.
this, yeah, just for the sake of cleanness, having the two, I like having the two separated. I know
Okay.
that's havoc on you having to write minutes, Sue, and I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But I'll make a motion to have Andy George prepare and advertise the noise ordinance after making those changes in the previous motion.
Second.
Roll call, Peter.
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Very good. Next item on the agenda is building maintenance. We had Mike Rail replace 2 of the office windows, and they look fantastic.
Mhm.
The window above the garage is legitimately falling out of the building. At Saturday's workshop, we made a motion to authorize Mike to replace the 2 windows above the garage in the same fashion for a total of $1,600. Irene has been contacting several contractors about replacing windows in the main meeting room, along with removal of any of the old I shouldn't say HVAC, but the old heater, the steam radiator pipes, as well as putting in a drop ceiling. Bertolet Construction, which was one of the firms that was reached out to, is unable to provide quotes due to their heavy workload. Somebody from Urig Construction took measurements, and I believe we have calls out to a number of other places, also including Mike Rail, who had done the windows, to see if that's something that he also would do. Irene, do you have any further to add on
No,
that?
I'm gonna be creating a list. I'm just gonna widen the net and contact a whole bunch of other contractors. It's very slow with people getting back to us, which is a little bit surprising. So there was something that was brought up at the workshop as far as why we're moving the room, like if we could move the meeting room to where the garage is currently, etc., like flip flop it. Part of that issue is access, and she would not have direct access to an exit point if we would have the office and what is now currently the meeting room. And it would be very awkward for her she would only have one point where she could exit that. So if we do wind up moving the meeting room to where the garage is currently, Sue has access. Sue can leave that area without giving anyone else access to it, which is part of the goal for safety. The other thing is I went and I measured the areas with Butch. The garage is maybe about 4 feet longer and about 2 feet wider than our current meeting room, but some of that space would get eaten up anyway by renovation costs. By renovation, you have to stud in the walls, add windows, things like that. So to me, the size is negligible, 4 feet in one direction, 2 feet in another. You're not getting that much space as far as adding personnel in. And what we want to do in the garage space is create a safer access point for both the public to come in, as well as for us utilizing it as office space.
Yep.
So
Just as an addendum point to that, with the taking up additional space, the way that garage is there's those really big posts down the middle where there used to be a supporting wall. We can't really, we really honestly shouldn't leave them as is the way they are, because it's screw jacks on steel plates, but that's going to eat up a lot of floor space to do that properly. So you'd actually probably, it looks like a bigger space, but you actually have less real estate to work with in the garage than you do in the current meeting room.
yeah, so I just wanted to address that. So like I said, I'm going to try to contact more. I'm generating a list of people that are actually even calling us back. So hopefully we're going to get a couple of more quotes. I'm still astonished at people not calling us back.
We had that with the roof. We got once you got the roof done. That
Mhm.
I called. I can't even tell you how many places, and we got a handful of them back, but it was a very small percentage.
Yeah. So I'm just going to cast a wider net, start calling more places. I've got a couple of days off this upcoming week, so I'm hoping to get that done.
Okay, good. And other building maintenance related news, before I go into that, one of the other things that we're looking to have, whatever firm comes out to do those things do, is also replace what is the current front door, as well as the door on the other side of the building that is held together with grit spit duct tape and I believe a bolt from a hardware store,
Shame.
and a chain. So we want to have them do that too. If we can get a bunch of stuff done, generally speaking, all at the same time, it's probably going to be a little more cost effective than having it done piecemeal over the course of numerous months. Some of the IT equipment that we had ordered for space renovation to be able to do meetings in a better fashion when we go back to in-person has arrived. I lugged 2 very large boxes in today for the equipment racks. Some of the other equipment also arrived through a different shipping firm, but I have some of the equipment here, and I can start getting the wires pulled tomorrow so that we can move the office back out of the meeting room into the normal office area. So I'll pop by and take care of that, as well as the next agenda item, which is the Eagle disposal contract amendment. I will stop through and sign that. We had to make an amendment to the existing contract around the totes that Eagle provided at no cost. They just need something on paper to recognize that happened. Okay. If we don't have anything more on building maintenance from Irene or Jim, we'll move on to the next item for discussion.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is the Uniform Construction Code, the County-wide Appeals Board. There is a new agreement that must be executed and will replace the previous agreement. Andy contacted the county and was told that this can be done by resolution, not ordinance, and they are now charging a $300 annual fee. As we have participated with this in the past, I personally would suggest that we continue to do so. The unfortunate reality is, as time goes on, things tend to cost more. So Andy, in terms of resolution, what do we need to do as a board to start that process and get it underway?
We have it.
Oh, we have it? Okay,
ready.
phenomenal.
Yeah, it's ready to go. So you would just need to vote to pass the resolution, and then you would have to have a second vote then to sign the intergovernmental agreement with the county for us to continue membership on or our partnership participating with the UCC County Board of Appeals. Really, it's I think it was a significant jump. It was $100 a year. Now it's $300. But this is the first time they ever raised the cost. They probably should have done it previously, so it'd be less of an impact. But it's still cheaper than having your own board. So one of those appeals would cost you more than $300 to navigate that. So, and it's one less board that you need to have and worry about every January.
Yep, that's very true. Okay, so I will make 2 motions. First one being to pass the resolution to participate in the UCC County-wide Appeals Board.
Second.
Roll call, Peter.
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Next motion is to authorize the signing of the intergovernmental agreement to participate in the UCC countywide board appeals board.
Second.
roll call, Peter.
Aye.
Irene.
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the Berks County Public Works Association's meetings. These have been canceled through 2021 because of COVID-19. The annual dues paid for 2020 will continue membership until they can resume normal activities. Next item on the agenda is Countryside Fuel. We received a flyer about annual system checks and other services that that company now offers on gas furnaces and et cetera. Seeing as we have not had routine maintenance done yet on the gas heaters that we had installed, and Countryside happens to be our fuel supplier, I think it would be worth making a phone call to them to see what service plans we could get set up for the heaters that we have on the first floor. I fully intended to do that earlier this week. I was not able to, so I will, at that first chance possible, give them a call and see what they can give me in terms of details.
Good.
Okay. The last item on the agenda is the Act 537. We had discussed this at length at some of the other meetings. We had sent a letter to DEP and received a more negative response than we had originally anticipated based on some other conversation that we and Jim McCarthy had had. The next step that we feel is to get an income study, which is good for 2 years, and to get the letter out to property owners about the pump out and inspection schedule. The reason being is really knowledge is power. The more that we want to try to contest anything about this, knowing what our financial situation is as a community, as well as the general health and state of any of the systems that we have in the community, is going to paint a very compelling picture of what actually needs to be done and what the needs are. So McCarthy Engineering is also reaching out to Penvest and checking to see how many EDUs are remaining with the Wilmersdorf Sewer Authority, so that we can add that into the kind of toolbox that we're assembling of reformation around the Act 537 plan in a way that does not get us into legal hot water or fines. We also did receive a list of funding sources, which was actually larger. There were more things on the list than in some prior years, which is a mildly comforting fact. And he feels that the DEP may be more receptive to us looking to make changes or to recognize certain concerns that we may have around need or financial viability after we've had Alan Madera, who's our new SEO, do the first section of pump outs and inspections. So if Alan has any time tomorrow, I don't know what Irene or Jim, what your work schedule is, but I'm going to try and give him a call tomorrow, and I'll send him a copy of the letter and see if he has a few minutes that he could maybe go over some stuff with us, even if it's 2 of us out of the group. That way we can get that process started.
I'm working all day.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Under normal circumstances, I would be as well. And even if it's just one of us, I just want to get kind of the softball conversation open and send the letter to him and just say, hey, here's what we were thinking. Let us know what your thoughts are. If you need to make any changes, please do send it back to us, and we'll happily work with you on getting it together enough that we can start getting it prepped to send out. I have that list of all the properties ready, and Sue, I think you had actually even said that Alan might be willing to do the mailing.
Well, keep in mind, I think the list I gave you is the tax list from last year. Now we have a new list because it's this year.
I can filter it again. It's not that complicated, but what I did is I filtered it to all actual property addresses and then the mailing address that we have for the tax bills, so that if there's actually a livable property on a parcel that has an address associated with it, the owner would get a letter.
Good.
So if you haven't already, Sue, if you send me the new one, I'll do the same thing. I'll filter the data down so that we have that list of address and owner.
Okay. And I'm trying to remember to change it, like when we get reports that say the property was sold and the new owner, I'm trying to remember to change the names.
Oh, the real estate transfer.
But sometimes I don't remember to do that.
Okay. Okay.
I guess could you just address it to property owner or resident?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, if we wanted to take a more generalized approach, that would be easier. we
Yeah.
know who it is, but you could
Yeah.
just send to like dear property owner.
Yeah. Okay, I'll make sure you get that.
Okay. Irene, Jim, do you have any things that you want to add to the whole Act 537 situation or pump out?
No.
Okay. That concludes the main agenda items for this evening. In terms of supervisor comments, I will cover the police report. It was a relatively quiet month. There were a couple of traffic stops, 3 traffic accidents, 44 total security checks, and a handful, about 7 complaints that they had received. Otherwise, fairly quiet. There were no DUIs or anything like that, no misdemeanors. They actually didn't have to do any police or motorists assists, which is lower than pretty much every other month that we've had to date. So really, March was quite quiet. We haven't received the April report yet, which would be then reviewed at the May meeting. The MTCA has asked me to make a couple of announcements. The community yard sale will be on June 5th. The playground is actually going to have a work day this upcoming Saturday, May 1st. If you or anybody else is willing to come out and help weed and clean and do anything else that needs to spruce up the playground for the spring, please stop by. They're also selling Justino's sandwich coupons for $6.50, which are quite good. The Elk Environmental Company came out and did a kind of a preliminary review of some of the chemicals that we need to get rid of. There's if I can be honest, a slightly confusing bill sheet, but it's because there's a lot of unknown elements. There are drums of things from God only knows when, containing God only knows what, which is tight, Irene. And they're not really sure what the disposal costs are going to translate to because they simply don't know what's there. Being as it is, I don't like jumping both feet into the pool. However, we don't really have a lot of options. We need to get rid of this stuff because it is it's a massive hazard. And some of the things that are there are in drums that are so old that they're starting to degrade. So if we don't do something about it relatively soon, we could have a chemical spill on our hands rather than just a big drum of whatever there sitting quietly. I'd like to authorize Elk Environmental to come out and collect any and all of the chemicals that we have there that we need to dispose of. And we'll figure out what we have to authorize in terms of expense after the fact.
Agreed. Again, this is another one of those issues where maintenance, routine cleaning wasn't done, and now we're getting stuck with it. And I think it's a huge safety aspect to our staff. God forbid there's a fire or something. The other thing, it's just cleanup. It's going to free up a lot of space in that garage too, taking up a considerable amount of space that the guys could be using for other things. So it's one of those things, someone didn't take care of it at some point or some points, and we're left to take care of it now. And unfortunately, it's quite expensive. So
it's just little stuff, little bits at a time got shoved to the back, and it piled up over many, many years. And now we need to do something about it.
Right.
Okay. That was the last thing that I had. Irene?
yes, I think it's necessary. If anyone takes a look at the bills, it seems that a lot of us are constantly putting items on our own personal credit cards and then waiting to get reimbursed. There's reimbursement for myself for the amount of $423.99, and that's actually what it costs on the QuickBooks update, if anyone was curious as to what that was about. So I think it's time that we do have a credit card. Sue made me aware that the guys need to get fuel for the mower, other small items that they're going out to replace, $15 here, $30 there, $12 here. We have some petty cash available, but I think it's time that we authorize a credit card for usage. So I would propose that there's a credit card for myself, you, and Jim to use at the office for anything that the supervisors would need. Another credit card that would have Sue's name on it for whatever needs Sue has. So for example, Sue recently had to purchase ink for the printer, as well as another additional card for Butch, who's the one who's usually at the office and making purchases, as well as for Don Height, who needs to fuel the mower. I propose a limit of $500. I don't know if that wants to be cumulative for both between Butch and Don, as well as between us and Sue, or for $500 for each card. If you guys want to discuss that. I know for us, some of the costs run up to about $500. So I've done the UCC fees on my card, you know, the past couple of months whenever I'm queued for it. So it gets pricey. But I'm also the treasurer, so I'm able to write the checks out, and I think I keep on top of the bill paying quite routinely. So
I'm trying to remember what the highest thing I've ever had to put on my
So-
card for.
So that underground tank storage thing.
I want to say it
that's
was five.
That's like 423 or something
Okay.
like that. It's for something.
Yeah, I had a feeling that was somewhere right in the neighborhood of $500.
It's up there, yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea of having the cards, and depending on, I don't know if there's an additional cost. They could actually do a serialized card for each one of us under the Marion Township account,
yes,
rather
so-
than having like one card shared. That we could
Right.
have one for each supervisor, one for the secretary, and one for the two road crew guys who would be doing the reimbursements, and set very different limits. Like you, me, Jim, probably okay with $500. We're not going to use it a whole lot. The only exception that I would say is if we had something larger, we needed to buy, I don't know what, we might exceed the $500 limit on certain things. I think the $500 limit is very good for Sue from an office supply standpoint. Probably never going to go over that. And then I'd almost suggest the $250 limit on the road crew ones, just in case like Butch has to go get a bunch of fuel in all the vehicles at any point, that we don't have him running up against a situation where, oh, went a little bit over and now I can't fill the tank in the John Deere or whatever.
Well, we've all come across during snow plowing, the diesel fuel tank, you know, they're doing that much plowing, they're using all of that and have to go to Turkey Hill to fill up the tracks. So
Yeah, so I would, and again, if I'm not mistaken, I think 250 on each one of the cards individually is probably going to be plenty. And that's something that we can always change if we find that like Butch during like a heavy snowstorm is having to put more fuel than we had anticipated into the trucks. We can make a phone call and change that.
So all I need is names and limits, and then it's application process through Fulton Bank.
Okay. The other question I had is, do we want to get one set up for just generic Marion Township for any recurring things? Because a lot of things will do online bill pay, but some of them will do recurring payments under credit cards and not directly out of like a bank account.
So all of them would be Marion Township. There would just be authorized users on
Okay.
each of the cards.
Okay. So then the real question is, which really just becomes which card do we want to use for things like, let's say the Comcast bill or the electric bill or the UGI bill.
Instead of doing it on the credit card, and we'd have to see if there may be benefits to using the credit card. We can just pay online with those and use the authorization number in lieu of the check number.
Yep.
So that could be done two different ways. I'd almost rather just do it online rather than use the credit card for those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just as a clarifying point, 100% agree with you on that. What I was saying is there may be some things, is like, I know Comcast, you can do a bank draft, but you could have some things like the underground tank, the insurance thing. You can only do it by credit card.
Yeah.
So which it would just become a question of which card do we kind of earmark for being the one that does for that sort of stuff.
So it would be, I would assume it would be the treasurer's card.
Okay.
Because then you would have to do it. I'll go back to the bank. So if we know roughly how many cards, so you're saying Butch, Donnie, Sue, me, you, and Jim. So we're talking 7 cards there. So I'll go back to the bank. I'll give Pam a call and see what we could do with this. So for the supervisors and Sue, a $500 limit, for Donnie and Butch, a $250 limit. And I'll go from there. We'll see what she proposes. The other part of that is I'd like all the cards to stay at the building until and unless they're need to be used. So if Butch or Donnie need to go out to get fuel, they take the card from the building and then they return it when they're done with their transaction, and it gets put into the safe. And this way, there's not a liability issue with holding on to the cards. I understand, like in the event of a snowstorm or in some kind of a crazy emergency event where people can't get back to the building, that's an exception to that. but I'd like it, if they come and say, hey, I need to go out and make these purchases, they take the cards with them, and then they bring it back.
I think that's a prudent decision. I agree.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Dan's raising his hand.
Dan's raising his hand?
Yeah.
Okay, give me just a second, Dan. Okay, you should be able to unmute now, Dan.
Okay. Irene, did Fulton Bank offer us any type of cash back on these credit cards that we're going to be using?
Yes, and it all depends on what we do as far as applying. So yes, there are features with the cards. So we have to apply first to see what we qualify for.
Okay. And as far as paying bills online with Comcast or any of those other utility companies, you can use a credit card to pay that bill. And again, if you're using a cashback credit card, it would be to Marion Township's advantage to do it that way rather than just pay it online.
Right. But I'd hate to all of a sudden type, like, let's say I've paid, $400 or so in credit online with the credit card, and then all of a sudden I need to have $400 available on the credit card to make a purchase. So to me, it could be a lose-lose situation when it comes to something like that. I know the advantages of paying by credit card, but now all of a sudden I need to pay something and use the credit card, then I'm at a loss.
Okay, so Irene, let's put one of the cards as kind of the, like we had said about earmarking one as the primary. We
Okay.
set that one to like $1,500.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, everybody else
That's a
gets
good point, Dan.
Yeah, it's a
Good
very good
point,
point.
Dan.
That's in personal life. I have a card that I do for that, and it's just through the course of the year I pay my regular bills on it, and that helps pay for Christmas. So
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
they put it out there for a good use, why not take advantage of it?
So I would say, Irene, your card, let's set it to like $1,500 or $2,000, depending on, like, you're the treasurer. You tell us what would be an average throughput on things like the electric, the UGI, Comcast.
I mean, that could be $1,500 a month, especially in the winter months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think $1,500 is reasonable. It's about what I feel comfortable with.
okay, so then let's do that. The card that will be more or less assigned to you is the $1,500 one, and then Jim, Sue, and I will have 500s. Donnie will have a 250, and Butch will have a 250.
Okay. So
And
I will give Pam a call and get the ball rolling on that.
Make sure the bank links those cards all together so
Yes.
that you don't have cash back on each little one.
Mhm.
Link it to one account.
Yeah, I forget the actual terminology that they use for credit cards, but it's a foundation account versus a branch account.
Right.
Yeah.
That they should all be on the same foundation account, but then you have different signing accounts under it.
Right. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So none of us are personally liable. It only goes to Marion Township. They're just going to be authorized users on the cards. That's all.
Okay, good. That will certainly help to streamline a number of the things that we've found ourselves having to do out of pocket and get reimbursement for.
Yes.
Andy, do they need a motion to do this?
Yes, I would make a motion.
Irene, do you want to make a motion?
Well, let me go to the bank first and get a bit more information. Do I need a motion just to start the process as far as the inquiry at the bank and see about getting
Yeah.
approved?
You can inquire, but my curiosity is, since we need to make a motion around this, is do we want to make a motion to authorize you to do that? Like if you make the inquiry and they say it's super easy, you want to just get it started,
Mhm.
we know we want to go down this path. Do we want to authorize you to do it?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to authorize myself to make the inquiry and start the application process to have credit cards available to the following persons: Butch or Richard R. Troutman Jr., Donald Height, Sue Staaby, Jim Brooks, myself, Irene Sileski, and Peter McCarthy, with the following limits: $250 for both Don Height and Richard Troutman, $500 limit for Sue Staaby, Peter McCarthy, and Jim Brooks, and $1,500 for myself, Irene Sileski, as this acting treasurer.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, Peter,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Dan, are you still on there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I'll need your help helping me track some of this stuff because there's some features that I don't take advantage of on my credit cards. So I'll have to help you. You'll have to help me keep an eye out on everything.
Oh, no, I'd love to use my credit cards. I've done over 200,000 points for cruise already.
Very nice. Yeah, any extra stuff that we can get for the township as essentially found money or free stuff? It's a no-brainer. I completely agree with you, Dan. That's a wonderful idea.
Right.
One more comment, I guess, for me then. I'd like to change up the format of our meetings just a little bit. I'd like to add a section that allows me to make a little bit more comments when it comes to the financials. Sometimes there's a little bit more to discuss rather than, bills to be paid, etc. So I'd like to make a motion to add a section to the format of our meetings to provide additional time for treasurer's comments to the agenda.
Second.
And where would you like that placed? Before the bill payment?
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
so Peter, second. Roll call, Peter.
Aye.
Irene.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Okay,
Okay. I have one thing that I'd like to quick put in there. Jim, I cut a couple of keys for you today while I was out.
Oh, thank you.
So I still have a few more to do, but we have the keys that you need. So I'll leave them in the office tomorrow, but it'll get you in the front door and in the office.
Thank you.
Jim, do you have any comments?
No, not really. I just, everything I think is going very well. We have a great board. They're working together to get things accomplished, and we have a great staff, and things are really turned around in the last year since I've been on the board, and I'm very thankful to you and Irene and Dan and Sue and the rest of the staff. Everybody's doing a great job.
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. Andy, do you have any comments?
I do not.
Okay, very good. Sue.
I do not.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, seeing no other items for discussion, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting. The time is now 7:49 p.m.
Second.
Roll call, Peter.
Aye.
Irene.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Okay.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.